The first visit by a world leader to a country since President Hosni Mubarak stood down. He's expected to hold talks with the country's new military leaders and urging the ruling Supreme Council to lift the emergency laws. He's also met with the Egyptian cabinet, including the country's Prime Minister Ahmed Shafiq. The British leader will also meet key figures from the anti-Mubarak opposition movement, who forced Hosni Mubarak to stand down 10 days ago. To India, where the sole surviving gunman of the Mumbai attacks has lost his appeal against the death sentence. Mohammad Ajmal Amir Kasab is now expected to make a final appeal to India's Supreme Court. Kasab was found guilty of taking part in the attacks, which killed 166 people and injured more than 300. Here's our New Delhi correspondent Pranay Suri.
It is going to take some more time before the death sentence against Mohammad Ajmal Kasab can be carried out, because under the Indian law, anybody who's been given the death sentence can take his or her appeal to the Supreme Court. That's the highest court in this country. In case the Supreme Court also upholds the death sentence, Mr. Kasab has another option of taking his mercy petition to the president of this country. Now, usually in the past, we've seen in such cases that it's a fairly long, drawn-out process. It takes many years before the case can come to any logical end. Mr. Kasab's defense team, of course, have been maintaining that their client is innocent, that he was merely manipulated by armed insurgent groups in Pakistan who asked him to carry out these attacks in India. But the judges at today's High Court in Maharashtra, they were quite clear. They used some very strong language in their judgment. They said that Mr. Kasab was personally responsible for the deaths of 7 people, including a top counter-terrorism official, and that this was not just any attack, but this was an attack on India's sovereignty. Mr. Kasab, who wasn't at the court proceedings at that time, he was actually watching all of this from his prison cell via video conference, didn't visibly react when the verdict was read out.
A suicide bomb blast in northern Afghanistan has killed at least 26 people. They were queuing for ID cards at a population registration office when the bomber detonated his explosives. Another 36 people were wounded in Kunduz province. In Pakistan, a US drone attack has killed at least 7 people. It was targeting a suspected militant training center in Azam Warsak in the South Waziristan tribal area. In Somalia, a car packed with explosives has detonated near a training station for government troops. It happened in the capital, Mogadishu. At least 8 people were killed, 35 were wounded. To Central Africa now, and the end of a landmark rape trial. A court in Congo has sentenced an army colonel to 20 years in prison for crimes against humanity. 62 women were raped in eastern Congo after Lieutenant Colonel Mutwari Kabibi ordered his troops to attack the village. It's the first time a commanding officer has been tried for such a crime. Sexual violence has long been used as a weapon by Congolese soldiers to intimidate and control the population. Now, Indonesia is hosting emergency talks to try to calm the simmering dispute between Thailand and Cambodia. The ASEAN talks could broker a deal for observers to be stationed at the disputed temple dating back to the 11th century. Wayne Hay is on the border where it's still tense.
The guns have fallen silent. In recent weeks, these Thai soldiers were engaged in fierce battles with their opposites from Cambodia, just a few hundred meters across the disputed territory. They still keep a close eye on any movement. Over the valley, they can easily see Cambodian soldiers.
This is what the fighting is all about, this piece of land leading up to the Preah Vihear temple. We're on the front line on the Thai side, and this is where the first shots were exchanged in the latest skirmish.
Thailand claims soldiers have been camped inside the ancient Hindu temple, something strenuously denied by the Cambodian government. But this footage, shot last week, appears to back up the Thai claims. A Cambodian soldier took our camera on a tour of the temple grounds, where troops had dug themselves in. In a room beneath the temple, they had set up radio equipment. The Cambodians say they're simply protecting the area in the wake of Thai shelling just over 2 weeks ago, which they claim damaged the temple. The Cambodian soldiers also gave us video footage taken inside one of their bunkers during the fighting, as the battle escalated over the disputed land around the temple. Back on the Thai side, the army wanted to tell its story, so it flew in the big guns. Military representatives from various countries came to the border region to hear Thailand's explanation for the upsurge in fighting. In the villages, rebuilding is in full swing. Houses that were burnt down are being quickly replaced. The fighting may have stopped, but the locals here don't expect peace to last long.
I don't think a ceasefire will work. The Cambodians tend to shoot directly at us. They shoot our school and other buildings. This village was badly damaged.
The local school, it's not just buildings that have to be repaired, also the confidence of the children. Life was anything but normal as they returned. They were greeted by armed troops and a gaping hole in the roof of the main building, left when the latest clashes broke out. Luckily, the students had already left when the shell landed, fleeing when they first heard gunfire. Many have still not returned to see first-hand evidence of the latest chapter in an often violent territorial dispute. Wayne Hay, Al Jazeera, on the Thai-Cambodia border.
Okay, I think we're going to Caracas now, is that correct? Yeah, Venezuela, and Dima Karib, who is in Caracas for us. The reason we're going to Caracas is because of rumours that Colonel Muammar Gaddafi is on his way or has arrived in Venezuela. Dima, can you tell us any more about that? Is it true? No, Dima is not there. So let's go to our guest with me here in the studio, Salman Sheikh from the Brookings Centre. I really don't know where Colonel Muammar Gaddafi is, but we have been told that he's on his way or has landed in Venezuela. That may or may not be true. Would he leave? Would he leave Libya at this point?
He may well do. I think one thing you always say with experience in the Middle East is always expect the unexpected. And with Gaddafi, I think we have to add, always expect the bizarre as well. So it may well be that he's left, though I would say that I would still take it with a pinch of salt until we've had these reports confirmed. But
there does seem to be, again, if these reports are true, a full-blown crackdown going on protesters in Tripoli. We've heard of live ammunition being used, a military aircraft apparently is being used. That would only happen at his express orders, wouldn't it?
Yes, and those of his sons, I would say, in particular. We have seen already that there has been firing, I believe, yet last night in Tripoli around Green Square. And of course, we've seen a pattern of live fire and other firing in Benghazi and in the east. So that would not be surprising to me if this is happening.
So where do security forces and the military stand on this? Are they completely loyal to Gaddafi and the regime? I
don't believe so. I think there are cracks. We've seen that in Benghazi, where we had a particular army unit which didn't and sided with the people. And in fact, their arms were used against other military forces sent from Tripoli. We've also heard reports that from the south, 2,000 soldiers turned around. And again, unsubstantiated, but I think probably quite credible, that they were being asked to take on some of the sort of brutal role that we've seen elsewhere, and they decided that this is not for them.
Are you surprised by that? Because, of course, Muammar Gaddafi is a colonel. He is an army man.
Not entirely. You are asking people, soldiers who are Libyans, to fight against and kill and maim their own people. Also, I think it would be good to remember that